Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me on Berets, and today we're going to be talking about two units, and one of them we're going to be talking about a lot more. So first of all, let's just get it over with and talk about Rain really quickly, just because Rain is a unit that I think some people like, and he's a pretty solid recommendation. He's a fire-based UR, there aren't a ton of fire-based URs in the game. There are a lot of ice enemies potentially, including, Medina, Fryevia, and so on and so forth into the future with more on the way. So yeah, he's a pretty easy recommendation. He's a magic damage dealer. He has an exclusive weapon that works really well for him, and you can either, make him kind of a tank-based character or, excuse me, just a magic damage dealer. Either way, Rain's a pretty dang solid little unit to recommend. But he is constantly forever in the game, so, not the thing that I really want to talk about, because what I really want to talk about is the new unit, the controversial one, because everybody for a while now has been basically expecting a global exclusive unit to come to the game from the Brave Exvius side, and we got it, Fryevia. But earlier this week, we found out a couple of things. First of all, the news that was put on the stream, the official live stream, was incorrect. Shot against Gummy. Wouldn't call it a nerf, would call it a big screw-up. Continuing on, though, the other thing that we found out is that she is a limited time unit, and that has made a lot of people incredibly sour about her. To which I'm going to talk about everything. I'm going to talk about her stats, where I think she will potentially fit into the meta, if I think she is actually any good, and last but not least, how big of a deal is it that she is a limited time unit. So let's get right into it and just take a peek at Fryevia in general. This is the level 80 friend Fryevia that you can use on the global side as a friend unit, just to try her out kind of thing. A couple things that I've noted off the start: her stats aren't necessarily amazing for what I would see from a level 80. If you take the more recent JP units for their level 80 friend versions, you can basically get them up to being, around 800, 900 magic, and here we're looking at, not great attack and basically, pretty good magic. But the one thing I am noting is that her HP isn't necessarily bad for a mage. It's not great, it's not terrible. But a couple things to note. First of all, it's running Ice Brand, which, while it does have an ice attack up, Sleep Sword is probably better. It's just for the more magic that you would get off of that, as well as just the fact that it ups magic attack anyway, so I'd probably recommend that over this. Other than that, I just think that the stats aren't necessarily impressive for what I'm looking at. Passives and everything as well. This isn't the greatest level 80 build that I've ever seen to recommend a unit, and that is kind of a benefit to some globalers. You don't have to worry too much. I think Fryevia, first and foremost, before I get too much into her again, I do want to have that conversation about where I think she's going to fit in the meta, because on the JP side, there is just a ton of ice units. There really is. There's so much so that, well, I've basically built quite a few. Agrius, Victoria, not to mention Medina, Gilgamesh, and Laswell. There is a lot of ice synergy in this game currently, and that makes for a strong recommendation of Fryevia because she can add to that. Fryevia also has kind of a little bit of a unique place on the ice team in the fact that she can be probably a pretty good healer with good enough equipment. Now, she does have Rise and Fuller Rise, which means that you could up the ice synergy even more on a primarily more damage-focused team. But yeah, I think that the ice synergy is really important to note, just the amount of ice units in the game. If you were interested in Agrius, if you fully built Medina, if you're thinking about getting Laswell and you've already got Victoria, it's a lot of conditions. Fryevia is not necessarily a bad unit to get your hands on because of apparent synergy. Now, taking a look at her kit, let's take a look at that, as well as including things such as resistance and everything. Because one of the things I noted is that she is particularly strong against magic damage, while being weak to slash, pierce, and impact. A couple of those are really important. I think that slash is just almost a deal breaker on the fact that, well, she doesn't have that much HP already, and there's a lot of strong slash-based damage characters. If you consider into the future characters who are slash with AoE attacks and everything, not quite sure how durable Fryevia really is for that reason, and I think that reason's totally fair. Not really talking about her limit burst because, while her limit burst seems perfectly fine, it's not really what I want to focus on. Spellblade, Blizzard Babe, Bioblade, Magic Barrier, Blizzaga Blade, Chicken Blade, and Silence Blade. Silence Blade and Poison Blade cannot be underestimated how good they are, even on multiple units. Even if an enemy is really strong, as we've seen in the towers, Poison is still a strategy to weaken the enemies considerably. So I do like the fact that she has Poison Blade and also Silence Blade, which has been, again, a strategy against certain enemies. So status effects are always good. Other than that, having Blizzaga Blade and Blizzard Blade, biggest problem that I see is just not a ton of range. Also has a chance of lowering bravery off of Chicken Blade, but in the main part of her kit, nothing is overly impressive in terms of range. And given her movement of 3 and 1 jump naturally, it just doesn't seem quite that impressive to me. So looking at her main job, while I think there is some really good stuff there, and most of it is basically the fact that she has Bioblade and Silence Blade, the range that she has available to her is not good. Taking a look at her sub-jobs, Taunting Spell and Resist Magic, both nice, but nothing that I would particularly ever really think is that great here. Continuing on, Green Mage. Now, here's something a little more interesting. She does have D-Shell, Ruin, Vitalize, as well as D-Protect, meaning that she has some good synergy, again, on a nice team, as well as a debuffer. Being able to debuff the enemy with D-Protect or D-Shell, depending on who you are running with, is just some good synergy, and yeah, having a UR Green Mage is always good. Again, if you can pass off, or if you can get into a situation where you can use her D-Shell, D-Protect, and then she's also contributing to the Ice Chain as well, that's just really, really good synergy. White Mage, Asuna, Kira, Cure, Protect, Shell, Full Life, Curata, and Raise. Again, she has a good amount of options here and range on her healing spells, making me think that she is basically should almost always be run as a green mage or a white mage. Full Life, given the fact that she's primarily a magic-based damage dealer, that's pretty good to have, just because her faith will be good enough that it should work properly, since you want high faith anyway. But Shell, Protect is good synergy. The biggest thing that I kind of wish she had in her kit was Holy, since it would give her another offensive option as well, while still being able to run White Mage. Most of it is support. Reactions, looking at her reactions, Magic Guard, chances of reducing magic damage taken to spell counter. Okay, and Regenerator. Obviously, I think that probably Magic Guard or Dispel Counter are your best stuff, but nothing is overly impressive here. As for her passives, Savior's Protection, which raises the debuff resistance and magic attack resistance. Okay, I'm not really sure how much I feel like that would be run. Providence of the Wind raises magic attack resistance against for wind. March of Saints, here we go. We're finally getting into something that I think is absolutely really great. Nullifies Doom. The current JP tower has a ton of Doom in it, so this unit actually would be totally valuable there. It would waste a lot of the enemy time. And last but not least, Emerald Echo increases effect duration of buffs, debuffs cast by self by 1 turn. Again, really a lot of the passives and everything here just basically paint Fryevia not as a high damage dealer, but more of a support unit. Everything in her kit kind of just makes me feel like she is support that is capable of really doing well in an ice-based team. Now, do I think that's really that good? Again, into the future, I think that Fryevia would probably, and I know I've probably been switching back between Fryevia and Fryevia, however pronounced. Anyway, the point is, I do think that there is valuable unit into the future, especially with the amount of ice units. You can make a really good solid ice team with everything you have here, combining, you know, a tank like Agrias, a magic damage dealer like Medina, and then, you know, putting Fryevia as well as, I don't know, Laswell or Gilgamesh in there. Such a powerful unison of elementals that is really good. That being said, kind of needs some more content to almost support her. And to that point, it makes it definitely hard for her to recommend. Looking at her TMR, some spirit, some defense, and HP, along with Glacial Mastery. A significantly raises own attack and magic power for 1 turn, and gets Wind Eater. So she's particularly good against wind units. Basically kind of knew that already. But it seems like her TMR is really important to be able to dish out a lot of her damage, given that it has what I would say is pretty much an essential buff that is missing from her kit. So overall, do I recommend you pulling for her? If I give her a half recommendation. If ice is your favorite element and you have already some ice developed units, she fits right into that party as the support and healer with damage capabilities as well, which is not a bad position. If having Ayaka on my team has taught me anything, Comet, Meteor, and Holy are enough for a healer to contribute something other than just heals, and it is really good. She has some debuffs in there too that could be valuable against enemies into the future, and she's a magic damage dealer. But she is a limited time unit, so where does that come into the discussion? I'm not overly worried about her being a limited time unit, for the simple fact that I do foresee her being able to run basically a whole bunch. I will 100% kind of bet that by the half-year anniversary for Global, or by the time that the Laswell banner shows up, that she will already have been repeated, and will probably be repeated about every 3 months. There's no contract issues here. There's nothing or anything like that stopping them from being able to run it. It's just kind of an arbitrary thing that they're doing with limited time units to kind of keep them out of the pool. I'm not overly crazy about her being limited, but I don't think it's the biggest detriment, provided that you can get her to LB4 before the event ends, or at the very least LB3. She'll be plenty usable into the future, and if you don't already have a healer or a good green mage in such as a unit as Ayaka, then hey, Fryevia's not half bad. Really. So anyway, tell me what you guys kind of think. I think that definitely not the biggest DPS, but pretty good, I think, that overall. So my recommendation is, if you don't want her, if you were worried about her being an exclusive, overpowered, limited time unit, I don't think she is. I think she's a cool unit that could fit into a really interesting position that we on the JP side are currently missing. If you take my ice team currently is running Ayaka, and maybe running Fryevia instead would just be a lot better for synergy. But that's about it. So if you feel like you're missing out, I don't think so, but I also think that she's not bad in her own right as an ice UR. Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and next video we'll be talking about all the stuff on the JP side. Oof. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.